Or what has been your main experience with weight loss? So is it the stricter diet? You're like, I need to be more disciplined. I need to have more willpower. I need to learn how to follow the rules. I guess I'm just not very good at following rules. There's a lot of fear. Like if I do something wrong, then the next day I will be punished on the scale. How many of us feel that? Hello, everyone. This is so exciting to me when I just click on some buttons and it just blows my mind. I think about my grandmas and just what wonder and amazement would they have knowing that I can create this kind of experience for people no matter where they live. Now, today's topic is about stop waiting for the perfect time to lose weight. So my question is, how often do you say to yourself, well, I'm just going to wait for when things calm down, when things settle, right? I have all these things I need to do right now. I'm just going to just wait, after this one project is done or after this thing, then I'll tackle it. How many of you have said that? I hear you. I see you, right? So if you say that, what is it that you're waiting for? And I want this to be interactive, by the way. My name is Dara Tomasson, and I'm so thrilled that you're here. And I'm here to help you see that weight loss, it is not exactly what you think it is. And when you keep saying things like, I'm going to wait for the perfect time, this is what's keeping you stuck. And so my goal for this class is to really help you see that you're not broken, you're not good enough, you don't need to be smarter to lose weight. But what really we need to do is see what's truly the problem. So I want to really get clear on what has been your experience with weight loss. So being a former school teacher, I was a school teacher for 10 years. I have 5 of my own children. I've taught quilting for years and years, and I know a thing or two about learning. And so that's going to be my recommendation. And I would, because I'm teaching this live and you can take advantage of this, those people watching the replay, you can comment in the comments below in the YouTube, but you're here with me live, so let's take advantage of it. So the more you're engaged, the more you're working from your higher brain. And your higher brain is your CEO brain. Okay, so that's what's going to really help you to start solidifying some of these concepts. So I see some of you here are already in my program. Those of you who aren't already, this is whether you're in my program or not, right? This is your opportunity to take yourself to the next level. This morning I had the privilege of coaching one of my one-on-one clients, and it has been unbelievable for me to watch just how much progression she's had in all of this time. We've been working together since the end of 2020. And the more that we can be in our brains and excavate all of these thought patterns that we subconsciously have created, the more we can go and dive into that from this higher brain instead of the fearful brain, the more success you're going to have, I promise. Okay? So put in the chat, or the Q&A, put in the Q&A, what do you think is what has been your main experience with weight loss? So is it the stricter diet? You're like, I need to be more disciplined. I need to have more willpower. I need to learn how to follow the rules. I guess I'm just not very good at following rules. There's a lot of fear. Like if I do something wrong, then the next day I will be punished on the scale. How many of us feel that? Now, I want this to be, as you think about things, and I know, I remember it being in university, and I was taking a class I was a school teacher, so learning how to learn, and the instructor was saying, well, how everyone can tell me, oh yeah, I'll start again Monday, I love that. The instructor said, how many of you know the alphabet? And we all knew the alphabet, obviously, we're university students, and then she said, can you do it backwards? And that just blew my mind. I was like, oh. So even though we know the alphabet, We don't know the alphabet that way. And so many of us, we think that weight loss is a certain way. And like what Alice said of, I'll start again on Monday. Then what was the pattern, and why were we constantly battling? Now, I'm going to give some examples. So as you're thinking about this question, so here I am with my sister's dog. Her name is Honey, and she is the sweetest dog. I want to take her home with me. She's so cute. And my sister has this beautiful dog, and she wants to keep her safe. And where she was living, they didn't have a fence. So they lived by a highway. And so my sister invested, instead of, she didn't have time or energy and resources to build the fence right away. So she invested in what's called an electric fence. So, and actually it's an invisible fence, so you can't see it in the picture. But so what happens is you put a collar on that dog, and then Honey, she'll be safe, because when she goes past that invisible fence, she gets a jolt and she gets the message, I shouldn't go here anymore. And the most amazing thing is, after years and years of this, she doesn't need the collar anymore, because she's trained to not go over there. And then they moved. And so instead of having the expense of putting the invisible fence in, Honey had just learned that we don't go near the road. Isn't that interesting? So I want you to think about this. Now, the next analogy, so I had flesh-eating disease. It was crazy and horrible and awful on my hand. That's why I have kind of this funky hand. And my kids had to take this terrible medicine, just horrible. And it was liquid form. And we tried to put it in chocolate milk. We tried to make it taste better, but it was awful. And you can still talk to them today and ask them, what was that like? And they will all say, it was the most disgusting thing I've ever had. Okay? These are some of my kids. My daughter's not in this picture. So how does this invisible fence and this medicine have anything to do with weight loss? And how does it have anything to do with, I'm just going to wait for the perfect time to lose weight? So what does this invisible fence that could seem to be restriction, and this medicine that can seem disgusting and horrible, have anything to do with dieting? I want you to put that in your brain, and we're going to look through it, okay? So now I want you to look at, if you were to describe to someone your past experiences with diets, how would you describe it? It was super fun. You loved it. It was great. Everyone else was eating cake and you didn't. You were feeling really sad, but you just felt the feelings, or you just went to the ice cream and it was like your best friend. Okay? How would you describe it? So let's go to the title. Let's go to the purpose of being here together. The purpose is when you say, stop waiting. So we say, I'm just going to wait for the perfect time. I want you to think about, what is it that you're waiting for? And what do you expect the experience to be? So if you expect this experience to be like this, where you become the nasty school teacher, you have lots of negative self-talk, and you use lots of willpower, and you use a lot of deprivation, and you use a lot of negotiation, and you use a lot of, if you don't do this, I'm going to get you in so much trouble. Finger wagging, I call it. Is that your experience with dieting? So if you think, well, I'm going to wait for the perfect time. So you're saying, I'm going to wait for the perfect time so that I can start being really mean to myself. Or I'm going to wait for the perfect time so that I can get myself in trouble, and I can always be afraid of myself, and I can always be afraid of food, and I never really know what's going on. Is that what it is? So now I want you to ask yourself, why is weight loss so hard? I want you to think back of what is something that's really hard. Like these girls that look like me in math. I'm better at math now, but in high school, math was the worst. I absolutely hated math. And the idea of being in that classroom where my teacher was teaching, and just that feeling, I can still feel it, the pit of my stomach, looking around at everyone else and thinking, how does everyone else understand this? And I'm such a loser. And all of those thoughts about myself were just so horrible. And then I'd go home and I would try to do it, and it just makes my stomach just feel sour. It makes my stomach feel like constricted. I can still see myself trying to understand, trying so hard. So if you think that weight loss is like trying to do math and you don't understand it and you're judging yourself and it feels horrible and awful, how does that make sense that you're going to want to procrastinate it? By the way, did you know that procrastination is a survival strategy? Because as humans, we are wired to, it's called the motivational triad. Stay safe, seek pleasure, and conserve energy. So if we procrastinate something that's hard, we're actually going into our internal wiring. So it makes sense that it's horrible and awful. So yes, of course, we're going to want to put it off. Now, I want you to think about conformity. Conformity is one of our greatest challenges. And the reason why is because we are wired to belong to the tribe. So it's like, and think about Brene Brown's famous quote about, if I look perfect, then it's like you're hiding behind that shield because you want everyone to accept you. Now, if you think that weight loss has to do with willpower, negative self-talk, deprivation, then you're like, well, that's what everyone else does. So that's what I have to do. And we're creative people. We don't have to follow along. We don't have to toe the line. We actually don't. We're adults now. We don't have to do everything that we saw our parents do. Okay? Today I thought about the analogy of, imagine if you were doing the laundry and you thought, I have to do the laundry how my grandma did laundry. But now there's washing machines. So if you felt like you had to conform, like you had to do what she did, then that feels terrible. And you waste all sorts of time and energy trying to be, and like, because you're like, I feel like that's how she did it, so I have to do it that way, right? We don't have to conform to that. We can evolve and change. So it's hard and it doesn't last, right? So if you feel like, if you bought into diets, like here we have this conformity of everyone else is using a scale, a food scale. Everyone else is using an app. Everyone else is tracking their calories. Everyone else is working out and sweating. Everyone else is complaining. Everyone else is feeling guilty about eating food. Everyone else is doing that, so I guess I should do that? You go to a guild meeting or you go to a family event and you're like, oh boy, here we go again. I guess I'll start again on Monday. You're conforming. You're doing what everyone else is doing. And so of course it doesn't feel good. Of course, it's like but it's a predictable discomfort. It's very known. So I want you to think about this crazy idea that I have of, if you wanted to be a pilot, you're like, I really want to be a pilot, so I'm going to take a ballet class. That doesn't make any sense, right? So the thing that I'm saying to you is, if you want to lose weight, why would you go to restriction? Why would you go to negative self-talk? Why would you go to spending all your time and energy calculating calories? They actually don't work together. They work for a little bit. Like ballet could help you be a pilot a little bit. It could help you with, I don't know, balance maybe? I don't know. Do you see how they're not actually connected, but you think that that's what it is? So if you wanted to be a pilot, you wouldn't take ballet classes. So you're solving the wrong problem. So weight loss is about learning why you're eating when your body doesn't need all that extra fuel. So this picture really cracks me up. It's like, why do we do that? And I want you to ask yourself, why are you putting more food in your mouth than your body needs? Because this is actually the truth. Weight loss, and everyone will agree with this, even like all the diet people. Weight loss is you're simply having too many calories on your body. Your body cannot use up all the calories that you're eating. So now you become a storage unit. So just like a jerry can, right? If you have with your car, if you fill up your car with gas and you only drive 5 kilometers or 5 miles, you go to the next gas station and you're like, I'm going to fill up the car, and the tank is full. And so you're like, no, I want to have a full tank of gas. Well, the tank will just overflow. But the human body, what it does is it will say, okay, we will store that extra fuel for you. So in case you need it later, we will have it. So now our body is we're like literally walking storage units. Okay? So you have to answer the question, why am I eating more food than my body can actually use up? And that's why we have to get to what that's all about. And today I'm going to go through some exercises for you. I want you to imagine that there's like this amazing, amazing dish. Oh, we'll get to that. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm so excited. So weight loss is a punishment for past choices. Weight loss doesn't let you see the childhood survival strategies, right? So if I look like my parents, I do what my parents do. If I, stay under the radar, if I'm like them, all of those unhealthy habits, all of those survival strategies. So weight loss doesn't address why you keep putting more food in your mouth than you need. So if you keep beating yourself up for not doing it right, like conforming with everyone else, you actually distract yourself from seeing what's really going on. So I want you to ask yourself this question. Why are you putting more food in your mouth? So is it because you eat because you don't want to feel embarrassed? You want to distract yourself from feeling embarrassed? Are you overeating because you don't want to feel upset? So you're like, I'm going to distract myself from feeling upset, and so I'll just use this food as a deterrent. I like to think about it like a pause button. It's like the movie is going, you're like, oh, this movie's really intense or movie's really scary. So you just press pause. But when you press pause, the movie's going to keep going. You have to get the resolution. So are you overeating because you want to avoid feeling stressed or distract yourself? Are you overeating because you don't want to feel disappointed? And so you're trying to distract yourself from that? Are you overeating because you feel uncertain and you don't want to feel uncertain? You don't like that feeling in your chest or your stomach? Are you overeating because you don't want to feel regret of the things you said or the things that you did? Are you overeating because you want to distract yourself from feeling hopeless or frustrated or whatever that negative emotion is? Are you overeating because you want to quiet the noise of that anxiousness? So as I ask these questions, what is resonating with you? When's the last time you overate? When's the last time you ate when you weren't really hungry? When's the last time you ate because you were avoiding something that you didn't want to do, but you didn't know how to deal with it, or you wanted to distract yourself from it? So I have this picture, and it's kind of hard to see. And I want you to ask yourself, when you were a kid and you were feeling negative emotion, or if you were feeling frustrated or any sort of, you were uncomfortable, you didn't know how to cope, what did you tend to do? And you're in your head, you're like, you better not cry, you better not ask for something, you need to be grateful. Would you go and get that spoonful of peanut butter? Would you go and grab a handful of chocolate chips? Would you go and make some food for someone? Would you read a book? would you, like, what was your strategy? What were some of your strategies for when things didn't go well as a kid? Can you put it in the chat? I'd love to read it. Where are my peanut butter people? Where are my chocolate chip people? Where are my potato chip people? Where are the cereal people? Or maybe it wasn't food, but what was it? This is where we get to go and explore in your own unique brain. Because just like we talk about conformity, we're all unique and different. So because we all had different families, we all, even our siblings, if you ask your siblings about them, they'll have different memories, they'll have different takes on the same, even though they grew up in the same house. So why is that? It's because you are unique. You have your own unique survival strategies. So some of us were more of a procrastinator. Some of us were more of a people pleaser. We anticipated what potentially people could say. Some of us were more of the perfectionist. We'd say, well, if I do it all perfect, then I could never get in trouble, right? So what was your particular strategy or strategies, right? So as I just pause and think, I want you to let your brain go to a memory, just a childhood memory. What's the first memory that's just coming to you? That's going to give you some clues. That's going to be the thing that's going to help you. And the problem with society today is, what do we want? We want a quick fix. We want, just give me some medicine and it'll all be done. So let's say you go to the doctor and you're like, you break your arm. You're like, my arm is in so much pain. I am excruciating pain. And then the doctor asks you, oh, what's happening? And you're like, oh, anytime I try to move it, it's like screaming pain. It's horrible. So the doctor could just give you, if the doctor is just focusing on the symptom, the doctor will give you some pain medicine. Okay? So I want you to ask yourself, so when you're eating, why are you eating it? Because really, the only time we really need fuel, like we need 1,200 calories a day to operate. So if we're overeating, which clearly we have this extra storage, why? Are we using that spoonful of peanut butter to reward ourselves, or that chocolate chip? Are we using it to distract ourselves? Are we using it to subdue or quiet that noise in your head? Is it to get that quick hit of joy? What are other things you do to do the same thing? You go shopping, you get that hit, it's a distraction. You scroll on your phone, get that hit, distraction. You go and, oh my goodness, I just found a new series yesterday. It's crazy, right? It's like, oh, this is so exciting. I want to know what's happening. These characters are incredible. Or maybe you're like me, and one of your go-to of distraction is service. I mean, there's nothing. And the thing is, there's nothing wrong with shopping. There's nothing wrong with scrolling. There's nothing wrong with watching TV. There's nothing wrong with serving people and helping people. But if you're doing it in place of what really looking at it, you're in trouble, because you're not addressing the real issue. So you're walking around with a broken arm, and it will never get fixed because they never set the arm. They never address the root issue. So my question to you is, how often is this happening? So when you say something like, well, I just need to wait for the perfect time to lose weight, it's you saying, I don't want to address what's really going on, why I keep putting this food in my mouth, and I just don't want to deal with that. Right? Because when you were a kid, if you started crying, what would people do? You got bullied. Oh, cry baby. I was at a basketball game 2 weeks ago, and a grown woman, I would say she was 74, like early 70s. She told a dad on our team, she called him a crybaby. I looked at her, I was like, What? So, what is keeping you from getting to the root of why you overeat? So, the hardest part is you're looking at the problem all wrong. What we need to do is we need to learn to love yourself when you're not perfect. You need to see those invisible survival patterns wired from childhood you don't even know. And you need to learn how to forgive yourself for all those past choices. I love that, Janine Roth said, every time we eat as a little girl, it was an attempt to take care of ourselves. I have the hiccups. That is hilarious. I haven't had the hiccups in a while. Okay, so I want to give you some examples, some real life examples of what's going on. Now, one of the things, I do want to bring this part up. Okay, so I have this process of helping women figure out what's really behind weight loss. And so just like a master chef, let's say this master chef created this delicious recipe, you don't actually have to become a master chef to be able to make this. But the master chef, we used all of their background information, knowledge, all of that to create this. So what I want to share with you is I have a system and a process that will help you understand why. Why do you keep going to the buffering? Why do you keep turning to the food? Why do you not address what's really going on? So I wanted to share some real life examples because if we keep thinking that we have to do all these traditional weight loss approaches, that's a terrible idea, right? And it's just as ridiculous as if you want to be a pilot, you take ballet lessons. You will never become a pilot if all you do is take ballet lessons. So you will never lose weight if you use a traditional weight loss. 99% of people who go on diets fail. 99%. So they do not work. Just like taking ballet will not become a pilot. It doesn't work. So this is Deb. She's smart. She's capable. But guess what? Candy, snacking, overeating, even all the healthy stuff, it kept her weight off. So until she actually started seeing what was her pattern with food, why did she keep going to the food? What was it that, and one of the main reasons she go to food, because guess what she had in her head still? She had all of that, her dad saying, all these mean things about her. So when she started having these thoughts of like, what's wrong with you? When are you going to be better? Why would you be overweight? You're such a loser. I knew you wouldn't amount to anything. So what would she do? She would go to the food to quiet that noise. And so when she learned to just allow that negative voice in her head, she learned to say, I hear you, but I'm actually in charge. I'm not this little girl. Oh my goodness, these hiccups are hilarious. Maybe I'll have to take a little drink here. She saw how her childhood food story subconsciously sabotaged her. She started treating herself with creativity rather than candy. And she started to have compassionate conversations with herself. One of the things that she does a lot now is she is in her studio every single day. She is creating. She is having fun. She's using up the stash. And this is not lost on us. Those of you who are quilter, sewer, creative people. We have joy in buying all the food. Buying all the fabric, right? We have so much fun buying it. We get this dopamine hit. It's awesome. But then we need to start using our stash. So if we don't ever use the stash, then we feel guilty, we feel bad, we feel embarrassed. And so then when we feel bad and guilty, embarrassed, what do? We go and buy more fabric just to get that dopamine hit. It's the same thing. So we have either the food on our bodies or we have a lot of fabric in our stash. And one of the cool things that happens inside my program is that women will tend to save a lot of money on fabric because they're not overspending on fabric. They're not buffering with fabric. One lady who came to my program, she said, you need to call your program Save a lot of money on fabric. And then she said, being in my program, she's like, I've saved at least $6,000. And just in the last like 5 months. And I was like, oh, so this program pays for itself like 3 times over. Anyways, side note. Okay, so here's Marie, and it's just been so fun to watch. She's been chronic yo-yoing forever, but then she saw how often food was the love language for her mom. So even something like eating popcorn when she was sick, because her mom was like, oh, well, the salt and everything will help your throat. And so when she's feeling sad or upset, she'll just go and have that popcorn, and she'll have that memory of her mom giving her love and guidance and care. She came from a big family, right? And now she's doing really crazy things like running half marathons, and she's traveling, and she's finishing projects, and she's just having so much fun with her life, even though she was widowed even before she retired. She didn't get to have that experience of being retired with her spouse. Now, here's Kate, who I just love watching. So now at her age, she wants to have all this creativity. She wants to keep putting her art in the world. And the more that she learns about compassion and loving herself and being patient with herself. So what happens is, if by 9 o'clock, if she ate the thing that she wasn't supposed to eat, or if she was buffering and not doing her creative work, she didn't say, oh, the rest of the day is horrible, I might as well, it's a goner, like I'm done. No, she works through it, and then she's able to continue on being creative. So this is not just all about weight loss. This is about creating a life that you want, because the master chef, you don't have to be the master chef. You don't have to understand how the brain all works. You don't have to understand like dietitian. You don't have to understand all of that. But you need to have the recipe to make it, okay? So the more that you understand the recipe, you understand what's like, you can just follow that recipe, make it your own. And I'm going to share with you the 5 pillars. Then you can do all these really fun things like my clients. So she's going on trips. She's finally doing those really fun things that she always wanted to do on her own, instead of staying and even going to those retreats. She's actually connecting with other people instead of kind of hiding out in her hotel room and then worrying about, oh, when I said that one thing to that person, are they going to think that I thought this other thing? No, she's not playing out all those mystery, what is the other person going to think of me? She doesn't do that anymore. So she's conserved so much energy. And here's Nadine, who she just doing this work and finally allowing herself. She's lots of kids. She's raised all these amazing kids and grandkids and all of these things. But weight was a way for her to, if she didn't know how to say things or didn't know how to do things, she would just go and eat. Or also that was a way to feel connection with other people. So if they were eating all the junk food, then she should eat it all, because that wasn't, even though it's not true connection, it felt like it. So now that she's learning these tools, she's really improved like all of her relationships with her kids, her grandkids, her spouse. She's been so productive in her sewing, and she's even making money by quilting, and she says what she wants. And all of this translates into physical weight loss, because finally, you don't have to go and learn all the details. You have the recipe that you can trust, and you can make it your own. Okay? So here's my story. This is kind of a fun before and after. And the interesting thing is, I don't actually have a lot of pictures of myself when I was 205 pounds, and now I'm 150. And so this was just a screenshot from one of my quilting videos. But, as little girls, we all have our own unique body. You can see here, I was this skinny little girl, but I was always hearing my mom and my aunties and my grandma talking about how weight was such a struggle. They would say things like a minute on the lips, a lifetime on the hips. And food was just these guilty pleasures. And it was, I actually believed ever since I was a little girl that when you got older, it was a rule that you would be overweight and unhappy. And that it was worth having those moments of joy because that's all you could have. I actually believed that to be true. So I'm 6 feet tall. At high school, I was this skinny, pretty girl. And I don't really have that many pictures of me, but this was when I was actually a missionary. This is probably the heaviest I'd been. And my parents got a divorce after my last year of university, or during my last year of university. And it scared me. I never, ever imagined my parents would get divorced. And I used food to quiet the noise. I was so hard on myself. I would work really hard, so I would eat a lot. I also got rewarded for eating a lot as a kid. But because I grew so much, it didn't matter as much. But as I got older, it kept on. And so I was really afraid of relationships. And so subconsciously, another layer was I kept on this weight so that the boys weren't as attracted to me. Because before, I got a lot of attention from guys. I'm just that body type. I'm very skinny. I was, kind of that Barbie. I didn't have the breasts, but that's okay. But I did get a lot of attention, and I did turn heads. And here's another screenshot of me quilting. This is after I had my last baby. I was in a tough transition, and you can see here, I was overweight and unhappy, and I wasn't sure what was happening. And so again, I was turning to excuses like perimenopause, and because I wasn't sure what was happening. I didn't know how to be a mom that didn't have her kids at home. I didn't know what to do with my business. I was directionless. And so if I could distract myself with weight, or I was like, oh, I can't be in the cool crowd, or I can't do this, or my weight is keeping me, it was like a safety feature that I wasn't even aware was I was doing it. And so in 2018, I was scrolling one day, and I saw someone that said, I'm a life coach and I can help you solve any problem, and I will help you lose. I can help you solve any problem. And I was like, well, weight loss is my huge problem right now. And as I worked with her, I saw that weight loss was really about me not addressing these emotional issues that I had. And there's a couple other layers which we can go in later, but I want to let you know that and so then as I went forward and lost 50 pounds, 55 pounds, all through perimenopause and menopause, not counting calories, not tracking steps. And people would ask me, how did you lose weight? And I said, I lost weight with my brain. And I lost weight with my heart. I actually started understanding why I kept putting that food in my mouth, and why I was sabotaging myself, and why I was protecting myself. So just like perfectionism is a way to protect yourself, having extra weight on your body is a way to protect yourself. So if you were sexually molested like I was as a kid, getting attention from guys was dangerous. And so it was interesting how as I became an adult and I could, potentially get married, I subconsciously kept that weight on. I actually didn't even realize why I was overweight. And I was so confused of why the dresses I was buying were the sizes that I was. I was like, this isn't me. I wasn't even really aware of how large I was. So what I want to offer you, which is non-traditional weight loss coach talk, you wouldn't expect this in a webinar or a training, is let's stop the self-criticism. Let's increase our self-compassion. Let's ask ourselves things like, what is unsafe right now for me? It actually felt unsafe to be skinny. It felt unsafe to get a lot of guys' attention because my life was turned upside down. Everything I believed to be true about love and family and all of that went out the door when my parents got divorced. And it was so scary to me, and it was so unexpected that I didn't have the emotional toolkit to work through all of that. So then it felt even scarier. And then what would it be like for you to start noticing what's really going on without feeling of self-criticism or blame? One of the unfortunate side effects of our childhood programming is that it's so ingrained in us we don't even realize. So when I read this quote by Brene Brown, it really resonated with me, and it actually made me cry. Because, so this is what she said: perfectionism is like a 20-ton shield. If I look perfect, live perfect, work perfect, I can avoid or minimize criticism, blame, and ridicule. Then she continues to say, we lug it around hoping it protects us from experiencing judgment, shame, blame, when all it really does is keep us from being seen. And it just broke my heart that I was this little girl who, and just like all of us, right? It's normal. We need to belong to the tribe. But it was so sad for me to realize at 20, 30, 40 years old, I was still lugging this around to try to protect myself, to be good enough, to get approval from my tribe, my family, the people around me. And so the message was, especially what I heard from my mom and my grandpa and people in my family, was people who are overweight are lazy and dumb, and they're not of value. So I internalized that of, if I have any sort of struggle with my weight, I don't have value. I'm not worthwhile. And I could get kicked out. But it was so subconscious in my brain, I didn't realize it. And now when I look at it, I think, oh, that's ridiculous. But I heard that my whole life. And it just stuck. And so now, because I'm so aware of it, I can change it. But until you're aware, you can't change it. Right? It's like a computer program. It's just binary, right? Like zero, well, it's like a code. If you don't change the code, you're still going to get the same error. So we're having all sorts of errors, thinking that if we don't lose weight and if the number doesn't change on the scale, all of that, then we're losers. We're not worth it. We're terrible. If the number goes up, we've gained some weight. Oh, that's it. You're the worst. And then we're just beating ourselves up, punching ourselves in the face, don't even realize it. Of course, we're going to turn to the food. And then we get overwhelmed by everyone and their dog on the internet telling you to do this and do that. I just saw a post this morning telling us that ice cream is good for us. We should go eat ice cream. So confusing. All right. So let's understand. We have to address the symptoms. We don't want to just be taking care of the symptoms. We want to address, why do we overeat? What are those emotions that feel dangerous and scary? So when you understand that, then you start understanding what's really the issue. So here are some of my amazing clients. This is actually over by my house. Actually, they all came to my house. It was so awesome. We had an incredible retreat. But when you say to yourself, I need to wait for the perfect time to lose weight, what you're saying is, I don't want to put myself through this disaster again. I don't want to drag myself through this horrible experience of willpower and negative self-talk. And I agree. Why would we ever want to do that to ourselves? It's like if someone takes a bite of something and says, this is disgusting, you want a bite? It's like, no, I don't want a bite. Why would I want to eat something that's disgusting? So I just want you to ask yourself that question. So you have a choice. You can either stay in the discomfort of, I know that weight loss, it's like self, I'll lose some weight. I'll be really mean to myself. I'll lose that weight. Then I'm really afraid it'll come back on because I'm just going to, the pressure is going to mount and I'm just going to crumble, and then I'll see one Instagram post that says, you should eat ice cream. It has vitamin A. Right? No. So this master chef, I am like the master chef for you. I am here to show you what actually needs to happen. And what you're going to be surprised is that as you think about your own wiring, your own luggage, your own experience, you're going to start seeing, oh, no wonder. So then we can go back into our own wiring, our own unique brain, because no amount of counting calories or tracking steps is going to do it, because you are unique. So you've got to go to your own unique pattern and you got to figure it out. But you're not all alone. You're not out in the wilderness roaming alone figuring, I have to figure this out. No, you're going to figure out, why do you go to the chocolate? Why do you do the shopping? Why are you scrolling for hours? Why are you taking naps? Why are you staying up all night? Why are you binge watching things? Why do you keep going to the pantry and grabbing some nuts? Like, what is it about you uniquely? And this is why, you can take, like, there's pills. There's like Ozempic right now is like a huge buzz, but it's been out long enough that we're seeing the repercussions. So if you want, and that something like that would just put the pause button on it. It will never actually address what's really going on. So what I have is a process that helps you see what's really going on. Now, weight loss, science is simple, is the first pillar. Create your own eating plan and troubleshoot it. You want to feel your feelings instead of eating them. You want to take responsibility for yourself. So you're no more shaming yourself like, I'm not good enough, or blaming your mom. And then you're going to build self-confidence. Now, there are times where we want a cookie cutter. There are times where it's appropriate. But if you keep using a cookie cutter as your weight loss, it will never work, because you're unique and different. What you need to take the expertise, you need to take all of the training and all of the experience of this master chef, and you need to just then take that recipe, and then what's going to happen is you're going to create it for yourself, because our brain is unique and we're wired differently. So Bob Proctor says, you are the only problem you ever will have, and you are your only solution. So until you come to these 5 pillars of weight loss, science is simple, create your own eating plan and troubleshoot it, feel your feelings instead of eating them or shopping them or scrolling, and then taking responsibility for yourself and building self-confidence. If you don't do that, then no amount of research, no amount of following a diet, no amount of any of that is going to work for you, because you are unique and different. So what I offer this incredible toolbox that's going to help you go into your own brain and see, what are all these thought errors that I have been carrying around subconsciously for my whole life?